Hello and welcome to this Nature Sunshine Academy webinar. Today we're going to be looking at our key system product for the nervous system, which is Nutri-Calm. In order to understand Nutri-Calm, we need to understand a little bit about what we use it for. So we're going to talk about stress to start with. Stress is your body's way of responding to any kind of demand, and the response is driven by energy. If you're using the energy to deal with the stress, you're not able to use it for other things that you need to keep yourself going. So things like repair and maintenance that would normally go on when you're sort of resting or sleeping. Certainly when you're relaxed. And if you can't relax, your body's ability to repair itself is compromised. Stress basically diverts energy away from self-maintenance and repair, and it speeds up the aging process. And we know that stress creates a lot of free radicals. And we know a little bit about what free radicals do. They speed up the aging process, they can scramble our DNA and our ability to reproduce our cells, they can aggravate the inflammatory process and lead to all different kinds of health problems. Stress also can impact upon our sleep, as you probably know, because we've all been stressed at some point or another, and it can cause us to have a very poor night's sleep, if any at all. It also affects our relationships, both at home and at work, the quality of our work, the libido, our general health, and all different areas of our life. And it actually can take years off your life. So what we've done with Nutri-Calm is we've tried to formulate a product where the impact of the stress on the body is not so great. And we've done this by looking at energy release and vitamins we need in energy release. So let's have a look at the process here. We'll start off with the pancreas down in the bottom left-hand side, and it produces two hormones. The first one is glucagon, and glucagon goes to the liver where it's involved in converting glycogen into glucose or sugar. That sugar is then released into the blood, and our blood sugar levels start to rise. So maybe we're starting to see a connection here between blood sugar levels and stress as well. Once the blood sugar levels have risen, there's obviously sugar available in the blood to be used elsewhere. But we need to get that sugar from the blood into the cells, and that's where this next hormone comes in. It's insulin. Insulin's released by the pancreas, but it needs to work with another hormone from the liver, which is called glucose tolerance factor. The glucose tolerance factor depends upon chromium, which is why it's important to take chromium if you're trying to balance your blood sugar levels. Once the insulin's released, it goes into the blood, and it can get the sugar from the blood into the different cells around the body. That being the case, the blood sugar levels start to fall because the sugar's coming out of the blood into the cells, and the cells can then use that sugar to create energy. Now, for this whole process to work, we need the energy vitamins, which are our B vitamins. We need vitamin B3 for the glucose tolerance factor and B6 for the insulin. And then in the cells we need B1, B2, B5 and B3 in order to create the energy. The whole glandular system is actually involved in managing stress. It's not just the pancreas. There's all different glands like the adrenal glands and the pituitary, which also are involved in the way that we deal with stress. The B vitamins are required to support the whole of the glandular system, not just the bit that we've just spoken about there. And actually we may need up to twice as many vitamins as we would normally to deal with a period of prolonged stress. Let's talk a little bit about chamomile as well now, because we've included some chamomile in Nutri-Calm. And one of my favourite things to do with chamomile is to talk about Beatrix Potter's book, Peter Rabbit. Peter Rabbit was an avid user of chamomile, and in this part of the story he's just been and raided Mr. McGregor's veggie patch, and he's eaten all the radishes and made himself feel ill. So the story says, "I'm sorry to say that Peter was not at all well that evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter." And it's a very classic example of where we might use chamomile at bedtime to aid restful sleep. And also we use it for overindulgence, as has been the case here. If we've overeaten or maybe had a little bit too much to drink, chamomile is very settling to the stomach. And it's particularly useful where stress will aggravate the digestion, as is in the case with a lot of people. There's a very long tradition of use of German chamomile as a tea, particularly to help refresh the nerves and encourage restful sleep, and it's particularly used for babies and inconsolable children, where nothing will help the child to calm down and help keep them quiet and get some sleep. Chamomile was very classically used for that. In adults, though, there's extensive research that demonstrates that chamomile is very effective as what we would call a nervine to help nourish and refresh the nervous system, and it's also mildly antioxidant. So let's look at Nutri-Calm then. It contains all the B vitamins for the nervous and the glandular systems, as well as German chamomile. In addition to that, it's got some citrus bioflavonoids in as antioxidants, so that's helping to protect against the free radical damage that's caused by the stress response, and it's suitable for vegetarians. Who needs Nutri-Calm? I'm sure we've all needed it at one point or another. Anyone who's suffering from emotional stress, be it short-term or long-term. It will just help to buffer the effects of the stress upon the body and help them to cope a little bit better. It's also really useful if you're on long-haul travel, so if you're trying to get some sleep on a plane, or you're jet-lagged and you need to sleep at a time your body's not used to, then it's really useful to take Nutri-Calm for that. That's the end of our webinar. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions, please do email me. The email address is ukhealthsciences@natr.com.